Buenos días, ¿cómo están? Hoy es lunes 10 de junio y vamos a comenzar el capítulo número 4. El capítulo número 4 se llama Nuestra Comunidad. Okay, we're going to start chapter 4, Nuestra Comunidad. In chapter 3, in capítulo 3, we talked about the house and how to describe and refer to different parts of the house. Now we're going to expand a little bit and go to the community. How to describe different places in the community, and what kind of things you can do or you can participate in. So we're going to continue to add more verbs to your list and more vocabulary. Okay. Community life in Latin America is pretty different from community life here in the States in different ways. Most of the social, I guess, and community life happens in the downtown area of a city. Here in this picture, you have a market. This is in the Plaza de Chichicastenango, Chichicastenango in Guatemala, and you can see a lot of those in Latin America, in some countries more than in others. Okay, so we have some questions here to get you thinking about what we're going to be covering. Generalmente, ¿qué haces durante un día normal? You learn the verb hacer, to do. What do you do in a everyday life, un día normal, a normal day? And we're going to be looking at what some culture notes to learn some about what community life looks like in some parts of Latin America. Okay. About the content, we're going to. I'm going to make this bigger because I can't really see very well here. Okay. We're going to be talking about places, to identify places in and around town, and we're going to work with the letters C and Z. And you have to pay attention to the My Spanish Lab explanation there. The two verbs that express to know, saber and conocer. To know is like the verb to be in Spanish. We have two different ones, not just one. Saber and conocer, and they're not interchangeable. Okay, we have to know when to use one and when to use the other. And we are going to we're going to go back to the verb tener, and we learned this expression briefly in chapter 3. Tener plus que plus an infinitive means, have to do something, to talk about common obligations and activities. Okay, today I have to go downtown, I have to pay the bill, she has to teach a lesson, they have to study, different things like that. Okay, so we're going to continue to learn more verbs that are irregular, verbs that have changes in the stem. Okay, we are going to specifically learn the verb ir, which means to go, which is a very common verb, and it's going to also be necessary to know because we're going to start with the future tense. The future expressed with ir plus a plus an infinitive. It's the equivalent of going to do something. Okay, I'm going to take my kids to the park. Okay, so that denotes future. In Spanish, you do that with ir plus the word a plus an infinitive. And another area that we're going to cover with vocabulary will be service opportunities or volunteerism. And we're also going to learn some affirmative and negative expressions. Okay, so that's pretty much what we're going to cover. So we're going to go ahead and start with the vocabulary, el vocabulario, if this will allow me. Okay. Muy bien, comunicación 1, los lugares. Los lugares means the places. I'm going to close this here. Okay, that's better. Los lugares en la ciudad o en el pueblo, identifying places in and around town. Okay, so remember that you can click on these and you can hear the pronunciation of the words. Okay, so we're going to start up here on top. We're going to look at the different things that you can find in a town. El supermercado, like H-E-B or here in town in Atlanta United or Albertsons, that would be supermercado. The Walmart and places like that, that would be el hipermercado, but you can also call it el supermercado. El parque, the park, and you can be thinking about places around your town where you are that you can make the connection with, and it can kind of label those places with the Spanish words so that you can remember them better. Okay, here in Abilene we have, for example, Nelson Park es el parque, el almacén, that would also be sort of like a grocery store, or more like a specific kind of store. Okay. El centro comercial would be the mall. El templo, that's a cognate, the temple. And we can also call them la iglesia, okay, la iglesia, the church. El cine, the movie theater. Oh, this is the temple. El cine, the movie theater. La oficina de correos, the post office. That is a temple back there. Okay, la oficina de correos, the post office. El café, the coffee shop. El café. El restaurante is a cognate. El mercado, that's a market like the picture we saw in the first page. El mercado. El bar o el club, okay, this is a place, like a club or a place where you go dancing. El bar o el club. El cajero automático, the ATM, el cajero automático, el banco, the bank, el centro, the downtown in general. This would be like a downtown part of town. El centro, meaning the center, literally. La plaza, this is a very common place in Latin American countries to have a square, a main square. La plaza. El teatro, the theater. El museo, these are cognates, museum. Y la iglesia. So I guess you can have templo, like a Jewish temple, y la iglesia, okay? La iglesia, the church, la iglesia. So all these are places that you can identify with and identify in your own hometown or where you are right now, and kind of in your mind label them with these words so you can have something more real to work with. And here we have other useful words. El cybercafé would be like an internet cafe where you can go and use the internet, and this is something that is very common in big cities in Latin America, because not a lot of people have computers at home, so they go to an internet cafe, el cybercafé. Okay, it's becoming more common for people to have computers at home, but a few years ago they were everywhere. La ciudad is the city. La cuenta, bill or account. La película, if you go to the theater or to el cine, there's a cine, el cine, you go there to watch la película, okay, o una película. El pueblo is smaller than ciudad, okay, el pueblo is a town or village, el pueblo. And some verbs, buscar is regular, buscar. Yo busco, tú buscas, él busca, to look for. Y mandar una carta, if you go to the post office, you go there to send a letter, right? Usually. Mandar una carta, to send or to mail a letter. So that's the vocabulary. And we're going to do some activities with that so you get familiar with, you familiarize yourself with the vocabulary, okay? You do that in my Spanish lab. And here you have also vocabulario útil when you are describing places around town, okay? You can use some of these verbs, detrás de, behind, enfrente de, in front of, estar de acuerdo, to agree, and of course you have to conjugate estar. You say I agree, you say estoy de acuerdo, or estás de acuerdo. El o la mejor, the best, you're talking about, the best restaurant in town, okay? El mejor restaurante en la ciudad. O el peor o la peor, the worst, okay? So that's a useful vocabulary that you can also use when you're talking about places around town, okay? Muy bien. So you're going to do your activities, and The cultural notes now are written in Spanish, as you have noticed. So that gives you good practice to read and try to understand what the context is saying. And it's okay if you don't understand every single word, but these are very simple writings and with words that you probably know and a lot of cognates, so you can understand the context, and that's good if you do that. Okay. Okay. So saber y conocer. Saber y conocer are two verbs that mean to know. They're twin verbs, like ser y estar. Okay, in English you only use to know. Okay, we looked at conocer in chapter 3, so if you want to go back and see how it's conjugated, you can do that. Conocer is irregular only in the yo form. Okay, the rest of the persons are regular. So saber y conocer. Okay, saber is irregular only in the yo form as well. Okay, both are irregular only in the yo form. So here, like in the example, I don't know why this is so small here. You have this dialogue, and the man is asking, ¿Sabes dónde hay un cibercafé? And she answers, No, no conozco muy bien la ciudad. So they're both using the verb to know. Do you know where I can find, or where there is an internet cafe? No, I don't know this town very well. So in English, you would be using the same verbs, but in Spanish, we have to use different verbs, okay? And here's a conjugation of saber. They both have irregular jaw forms, conozco and sé. Conozco, you have to go back to chapter 3, y sé, yo sé, and then the rest are regular. Okay, so when do we use one and when do we use the other? Okay, they're not interchangeable. Conocer means, conocer is used to express being familiar or acquainted with people or places and things. For example, if you say, they know the best restaurants in the city. Okay, you're going to use conocer. Ellos conocen los mejores restaurantes de la ciudad. Or I know your brother, but not very well. Yo conozco a tu hermano, pero no muy bien. Okay, so to be familiar or acquainted with something, you use conocer. But let's see. Here's a note. It says when you express that a person is known, we use what we call the personal a. Okay, because we're talking about people. That's why it's called personal a. La a persona. For example, here, yo conozco a tu hermano. Yo conozco a tu hermano. Okay, and then when a is followed by el. We have to put a and l together, and we form the word al. It's a contracted word, okay? A contracted article, sorry about that. Conozco al señor. A plus el makes al. Conozco al señor, okay? We can't say conozco a el señor. We put them together. And then saber we use to express that we know facts and pieces of information, or also how to do something. Okay, so, ¿qué sabes sobre la música de Guatemala? What do you know about Guatemala music? What information do you know? Okay, or yo sé tocar la guitarra. I know how to play the guitar, and you have to use a verb here in the infinitive. Yo sé tocar, yo sé cantar, yo sé hablar español, yo sé nadar, okay? All right. So a form of saber, depending on the person, plus an infinitive expresses that you know how to do something, okay? Sé nadar, I know how to swim. Sabemos tocar la guitarra, we know how to play the guitar, okay? So look at these two the uses of conocer and saber, and you're going to be doing some more activities in my Spanish lab with that. Okay, it takes practice to figure out when to use one and when to use the other, but you can do it. And that is about all for today. And tomorrow we're going to start with more verbs to talk about what you can do or what you have to do around the house or in your community, okay? And some of these verbs are irregular and some of these are regular, okay? So we're going to continue to work with verbs. ¿Bien? Ok, muy bien. Hasta mañana entonces. Chao.